Hey, it's Patrick from J&P Cycles, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install a Memphis Shades Road Warrior fairing on your motorcycle. For what we're going to use today is a 2019 Fat Bob, hence the weird kind of rectangular cutout there. But the reality is the installation on most motorcycles and for most Memphis Shades fairings are going to be very, very similar. Memphis Shades offers a handful of different styles. This particular Road Warrior style is based more on the T-Sport type of fairing that you see out there. The finish comes in a great gloss black finish. Of course, you can color match, paint this to your motorcycle, but if you don't have the scratch to do that, or if you already have a black motorcycle, this gloss black finish is ready to hit the road. Couple things to note here. This all is purchased separately. You purchase the fairing, you purchase the windshield, and you purchase the mount kit separately. The great thing about that is you can kind of tailor it to your bike. The mount kit is offered in two finishes, black and chrome. And the reason they do that is if you have black forks or silver forks, when you pop the fairing off, those mounting brackets are gonna fade away more if you color match them to your bike. The windshields are available in different heights and different tints. Something to note though, the measurement on the windshield is actually going to be a little different than normal. On a regular windshield that's not a fairing, you would measure from the top of the headlight to the top of the windshield and say it was like a 12-inch windshield, that's what you have. This 9-inch windshield is actually going to give you 12 inches of coverage. The reason for that is there's another 3 inches from the bottom of the windshield to the top of the headlight. Just kind of take that into consideration when you're measuring for your windshield. We went with a 9-inch with heavy tint for our Fat Bob. Sends you 3 nice tools. We're gonna need to add a 7/16 wrench to that and a T40 Torx. The first thing we have to do before we get on over to the bike, we have to put our brackets on our fairing, which means you gotta flip that fairing down on its face. But I highly recommend that you put something down under that fairing so you don't scratch the front of it up while we're doing our install. Okay. We got our fairing sitting nice and safe. And what we want to do is we want to install these brackets on the inside of the fairing. And how we want to do that is we want to put these trigger lock pieces to the side. It's going to be kind of hard to install these the wrong way, to be honest with you. So we're going to pull these 7/16 screws out of here. Careful not to lose your washers. On the back, what we're after is this rubber grommet right here. Get rid of this little flat-faced nut right there. We want to take this rubber grommet, we want to push it through this hole. We want to do all 4 of those. So after we get our little flat nuts pushed through the rubber grommets, you want to make sure you line up the flat sides with the little slot in your bracket. It's got to go in there like that. And that's what's going to keep it from turning when you tighten that up later. If you got a lock washer and a regular washer, make sure there's both on there. And we're going to thread this in here. Just going to leave that finger tight. We'll go do the one down at the bottom. I'm basically gonna set this in the middle of the adjustment right there. As you can see, there's room on either side. We're not gonna tighten them all the way just yet. I'm just gonna put a little bit of a turn on there. Now I'll do the other side. So now that we have these on, we're gonna head over to the bike and put on our clamps. Okay, before we can put our clamps on, we have to take this headlight shroud off. It's a T40 Torx. There's 2 of them, and we are gonna reuse this, so don't tear it up. Okay, so we have to take our clamps apart. Memphis Shades provides the Allen you need. We're gonna run these 2 Allens out of here, and these clamps are actually in 2 pieces, and they'll come apart. And when we put these on, we want these little ears here pointing to the back of the bike. So when you put them on, they're gonna be kind of biased one way or the other. You want them towards the back of the bike. The other things to remember when putting these on is there's a taper on this fork right here. You don't want that clamp down on that taper. You want it on the flat part. And the other thing is, just make sure it doesn't interfere down here with the heat sink on your headlight. These are like a little slot type setup here. You can see how it's coming apart. It's gonna slide in and out. So we may have to flex this part of this clamp just a little bit to get it around here without scratching your fork. Then I'm just gonna slide this back together. When I get it set up off that taper there, I'm gonna tighten the screw up, but don't tighten it up all the way. We're just gonna kind of snug it up. We wanna still be able to move it a little bit. So now we're gonna go to the other fork leg and do the exact same thing. Okay, so now we have to get this all lined up so it snaps in and out together. And I said before, you don't want to have these all the way tightened up, but you do want to have them pretty snug. You want to be able to move them if you want to move them, but you don't want them to move on their own, if that makes sense. So we'll kind of push the bottom in first, and then we'll push the top over. So basically that's going to go in that slot, the top one is going to go in that slot, and then you want to make sure that that trigger snaps all the way down. If this little piece right here is still bumped out, then that trigger is not locked. Now it's not going to go right on. This is where you're going to have to wiggle these things around, twist them in and out, and then you can even slide them back and forth here. They have a little adjustment with an Allen here. As you start to get closer, you'll see it line up. This side's good. So at this point, I'm pretty close with my adjustments, but what I need to do now is put the headlight shroud back on and then make my final adjustments to make sure it's sitting where I want around the headlight shroud. And then while I have the fairing on the bike, I'm gonna get in here, I'm gonna make all my final tightening. Okay, before we get to our windshield, this isn't a bad time to check the 7/16 bolts on the inside of here. If you didn't tighten them up before you go too much farther. Otherwise, we're gonna get our windshield on. Got some little plastic screws and nuts here. Now there's a flat slot, what looks to be for a screwdriver there. Memphis Shades recommends to not use a screwdriver on that. Basically what that means is, if you are going to use a screwdriver on this, barely tighten it. It'd be really easy to break these. We're gonna slip the screw with the little trim piece through it. The little knurled nut will go on the inside. So we added a little bit of style and a lot of wind protection with our Memphis Shades Road Warrior fairing. And like I mentioned before, all of these Memphis Shades fairing installs are gonna be very, very similar. I would say actually the Fat Bob might be a little bit more difficult to line up because of the headlight shape, but just stick with it and you'll get it. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop us a comment. Go work on those motorcycles.